On the earnings call today, I am joined by my colleague, Mr. Tripurari Kumar. We hope you have had chance to look at our financial results and the presentation that is uploaded on Stock Exchange as well as the company website. I will briefly discuss about the business landscape and then update on our performance in the preceding quarter, following which we will be happy to respond to your queries. Q1 of FY21 has been an unprecedented quarter which witnessed suspension of production for a significant period due to lockdown imposed by various governments to contain the spread of COVID-19 pandemic. It was followed by a gradual reopening in the second half of the quarter. The auto sector volumes declined sharply by 78% as against the volumes recorded for Q1 of 1920. The two-wheeler segment declined by 78%, three-wheeler by 77%, four-wheeler by 84%, and CV segment declined steeply by 88%. The large part of decline is on account of suspension of production, which resulted in negligible sales in the month of April, followed by gradual reopening of plants in staggered manner in second fortnight of May. With lockdown restriction being eased out in various parts of the country since June, witnessed resumption of economic activity. Production level at June exit was close to 40%. Consequently, the revenues and profitability have been adversely affected across the segments. As you know, the automotive industry has been facing headwinds since more than a year now. We had been taking cost optimization measures even prior to COVID, and those efforts have been accentuated with the onset of pandemic and its resultant impact on the industry. Various cross-functional teams were set up in order to look at each and every aspect of the cost with an objective to optimize it further with a very rigorous review mechanism. This has led to containment of costs in most areas. We are happy to inform that most of our service providers have supported in the initiative. At this point, I would also like to thank and acknowledge the support from our employees who have also partnered in this initiative through temporary salary reductions. The overall production levels have since grown progressively to around 70% in July and around 80% in August of the pre-COVID levels. Two-wheeler segment has so far done better than the four-wheeler segment, backed by good harvest and direct benefit transfer by the government to Jan Dhan account holders. We are optimistic that preference for private transport in COVID times will ensure that demand outlook improves and vehicle ownership increases per capita. Indents received from OEMs month on month are also showing an improving trend, which to some extent might also be supported by the need to have adequate inventory before the festival season. And if the momentum continues, we might see September volumes to be in line or higher than the pre-COVID levels compared to September 2019. Secondly, as we know, last year there was a lot of demand which might not have fructified due to transition from BS4 to BS6. Some part of that demand is also expected to convert and provide further support to the industry. Lastly, we hope the government will expedite the scrappage policy by taking concrete steps in that direction. Commodity prices have risen marginally in the previous quarter, while the rupee against US dollar has been stable and range bound. We firmly believe the growth will be back in medium term. Production at our overseas operations have also resumed, and the production levels in August have reached around 85% of pre-COVID levels in Europe, 75% in Mexico, and around 60% in ASEAN. India has so far witnessed good monsoon, adequate and well-distributed rainfall, which augurs well for the Kharif plantation. Accordingly, the rural demand is likely to sustain with sharp recovery in demand for two-wheelers, tractors, and farm equipments on year-to-year basis. As the data trend suggests, two-wheeler may see sustained momentum and expected to lead recovery, followed by the passenger vehicles and CVs catching up fast. Now coming to our performance, you may refer to slide number 5 and 6. At a consolidated level, during Q1 of FY21, The company registered a revenue of 417 crores as against 1440 crores for Q1 of FY20, registering a decline of 71% YOY. The revenue for Q4 FY20 was 1339 crores. As updated earlier, the decline was primarily on account of extended lockdown and low-scale operations for last part of Q1 of 20. Our product portfolio and customer mix has supported in limiting the decline to some extent. As mentioned earlier, all the facilities are now operational across the globe and have witnessed month-on-month improvement in utilization levels. Despite adverse business environment and suspension of production to contain the spread of COVID, EBITDA loss for Q1 was at 71 crores in comparison to EBITDA of 172 crore for corresponding quarter in FY20. EBITDA for the preceding quarter, which is Q4 FY20, was 122 crores. The company has taken steps to manage its cost in this unprecedented quarter, including negotiating its contract for leases, rentals, service providers, employee cost, and other overheads. The company has taken actions to conserve cash, which is critical in time of crisis. The management is very cautious of making new capex decision and it's committed to its long-term expansion plans. PBT loss before exceptional items for Q1 FY21 was at 156 crores as against PBT of 84 crores in Q1 of FY20. The decline in PBT is largely on account of lower operating leverage and suspension of production due to COVID-19. PAT loss for the quarter was at 119 crores as against 56 crores in corresponding prior quarter. Moving to the product lines, you may please refer to slides 7 and 8. First is being switching system. The segment achieved a revenue of 127 crores for Q1, contributing about 30% of total consolidated turnover. While we had developed gear shifter switch and rooftop switch for PVs, for the first time we have been awarded business for the same by a Japanese OEM. Moving to lighting system division, the division achieved revenue of 119 crores for Q1, contributing 29% of our total turnover. As you know, we had some strong order wins for PV lighting and have built robust order pipeline for India business supported by technology from our recent acquisition, which is Elvis. Moving to light metal technologies, or what we call LMT business, it has achieved a revenue of only 26 crores for Q1, contributing to 6% of our total turnover. We are happy to inform that we have secured one order of LPTC wheel from another large Korean customer in their upcoming model. The new two-wheeler alloy wheel plant is expected to be commissioned in September of which is coming month. Coming to acoustic or horn businesses, the business has achieved revenue of 66 crores for the Q1, contributing 16% of our total turnover. Clarton Mexico has received orders from Ford for electronic horns in Mexico. Moving to other product businesses, it has achieved revenue of 80 crores for Q1, contributing 19% of overall top line. I am glad to inform that business has received order for smart plug for electric scooter. We have also been nominated for oil temperature sensor from a Japanese two-wheeler OEM. Total borrowings as at 30th of June were at 1159 crores compared to 1180 crores for Q4 FY20. Moving on to slide 9. In terms of our revenue pie for the quarter ended June 30, OEM business accounted for 84% of total overall revenue and aftermarket business is around 16%. And in terms of segment mix, four-wheelers have contributed around 53%, while the rest is for two-wheelers, which is at 47%. Moving on to slide number 10. Harita Seating Systems, the merger scheme is now placed for hearing on August 24th with the Delhi NCLT, which is today, and on 9th September with NCLT Chennai. As you are aware, the matter had been delayed due to COVID-19. Once we have approval in place from both the NCLT for the said merger, it will take around 3 months to complete the process thereafter. The rights issue of 243 crore has been launched by the company. The issue will remain open from August 25th, which is tomorrow, to September 8th. We hope this provides long-term value creation opportunity to all the existing shareholders. Also to note here that immediately post completion of the transaction, it will be EPS accretive since large part of the funds are expected to be used for reduction of debt. The company has been proactively managing its cost of fund and liquidity position, and a significant portion of its working capital limits undrawn. Also, to note here that earlier, post-lockdown was imposed, ICRA had praised our long-term credit rating under watch with negative implication in April. It has now been withdrawn, and the credit rating has been reaffirmed at AA with stable outlook. The short-term rating continues to be at the highest level, which is A1+. That is all from our side, and now we can open the floor for Q&A.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Ashutosh Tiwari from Equirus. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Firstly, on this new order from LPDC from Korean OEM, so in FY22, what kind of revenue opportunity we have through LPDC alloy wheels?
Ashutosh, it's a little early to comment on revenue. As you know that in the previous quarter we said we have got business from first Korean supplier, Korean OEM. The supply were expected to start in next year around Diwali, linked with their next product launch. Another Korean OEM, which you know who the second is, we recently got an order from them as well, and that is also expected to have its production starting somewhere from middle of next year, once the project is also commissioned.
So it will both the orders will be started say around in the second half of the next year.
Yeah, but in terms of annual value or quantum, it is roughly around 75,000 wheels a year.
Okay, per year from both put together.
No, from this order.
From new one.
It's a new one. Earlier one, how much? Earlier order?
Earlier that will be launched, so we have just been nominated. We'll let you know the time when the orders are announced. But it will be on the same lines. That's for SUV.
Okay. And secondly, on this gear shifter switch that you got, what exactly is this basically? I mean, how it is used in a car? Is it like
for locking the mechanism?
Okay. So I mean, this is not a lever thing. This is something else, is it?
No, not lever.
Lever, so we were manufacturing earlier itself. It is part of that another JV called TRMN.
Okay. And this oil temperature sensor that we mentioned from a two-wheeler OEM, a Japanese OEM, so is this part of Sensata technology that we acquired through the same technology?
Yeah. It is high temperature sensor, yes.
Okay. So from this side, the sensors that we got from BS6 and this one all put together, how do you see the revenue ramping up over say for 22 and 23?
So it's little early, Ashutosh. We all know that the sensor project has, as you also mentioned, has been delayed a little bit because of COVID, because the equipments were expected to come from China. And there were three aspects or three legs of this sensor project, because when it was started with a very small STS component, then we added cam and crank, and then we added wheel speed sensor. So the first component, which was the first product, which was STS sensor, that has been commissioned. The cam and crank and the wheel speed sensor will initially be sort of traded, cam and crank, and also in terms of manufacturing facility, it will be up and running in the fourth quarter of this fiscal, so it's almost a 6 months delay.
Okay. But I'm talking about, I'm not talking this year, I'm talking about 2023. What kind of, say, so we had earlier talked about, say, around 300 to 400 crores revenue coming from over next 3-4 years.
That is still intact, Ashutosh. That 300-400 crore additional revenue is still intact from a 4-year perspective. If you ask me, for FY 21-22, it should add minimum around 100 plus crores.
Okay, got it. Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Siddhartha Bera from Nomura. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. Sir, first question is on the LMT side in this quarter. The decline seems to be much sharper than what we have seen in other segments. Any particular reason why it is so high?
No, so we all know that, first of all, the drop in PV has been significant in this quarter compared to two-wheeler. And secondly, we all know that as of now, there are lower end of models being made more, which have steel wheels more than the alloy wheels. But as we move forward, we are expecting that to also pick up speed.
And you will appreciate that unlike two-wheelers, four-wheelers took a little bit more time. So only when June started, they had started the plant. So that is another reason why you see lower volumes, especially on the LMT
Okay.
side.
Yeah, two-wheeler also started initially because we know that one of the major two-wheeler OEM had a lot of export orders in hand. So that was also one of the reasons why two-wheelers initially have done much better. And in fact, in terms of starting up post-COVID, I think the two-wheeler segment has taken a lead, as Trip also mentioned.
Okay, but the number you indicated that September can be higher than pre-COVID levels was for the overall company or for any particular segment?
For overall.
Overall company, got it. Secondly, sir, on this Delvis Technology side, can you just highlight what will be the current book order pipeline currently we have due to this technology in the lighting space?
So, Siddharth, you will appreciate that last time we sort of, in fact, unfortunately, the gap of last call and this call is only less than, I think, 6 weeks. We had, I think, 30th of June or something like so. I'm sure you'll appreciate you don't have significant movement in 5-6 weeks. But the last time we shared that we have actually got 3 large businesses because of Delvis, 2 being LED tail lamps for both the Japanese OEMs, which we have got the first time. We have never got an LED tail lamp. And we have also got a headlamp from MSIL. And if you see from value terms, all this put together is, in terms of peak annual value, what we capture is more than 150 crores.
Okay. So, fair to assume that this should be visible from FY22 onwards, right?
So, the next model launch, yes.
Okay, got it. And lastly, sir, on this associates part, so this losses from associates has been significantly higher again in this quarter. Can you throw some color on, I understand, I think it might be coming from the 3 major entities like Onkyo, TG and Kosei. But any plan if you can share how to look at for this whole year or probably FY22, what will be the extent of profitability or losses, if you can throw some color on that?
So, Siddharth, I think from that perspective, if you see our financials, I think this is the first time we have our minority share and a share of associate exactly same. Otherwise, our share of profit of associate used to be always higher than the
Minority interest.
Yeah. So, from that perspective, actually, if you see with that light, they have actually done better compared to the previous quarter.
Correct. But for the whole year as such, what is the plan here, sir? I mean, Onkyo losses, Kosei Minda losses, how to look at these from a year or say FY22 perspective?
So, from FY22 perspective, let's start with, say, Roki. Roki is doing, as of now, very well. And that is one of the business which is actually doing maybe more than pre-COVID levels even in August. And we are expecting that to be in green even in this quarter, in a very good number. So it should not be a cause of concern. Moving on to TG. TG is primarily, we know, is four-wheeler heavy, so they are also doing good. There also, I think, on a full year basis, we should have a good number in positive only. In terms of Onkyo, the losses have been coming down. If you see Q4 loss to Q1, it is less than half. Then if you see Catalec is also in the positive territory, moving towards that, if you see from Q2 perspective. And what else? Onkyo I have covered.
Kosei Minda.
So Kosei Minda, definitely there is a challenge in terms of customers. So we are actually working with them. and it's quite possible that KOSAI is actually might be coming up with a rights issue, which we might not participate, and our actually ownership in KOSAI will go down by almost like 10-12 percentage points.
Okay, got it. Okay, sir. Thanks a lot. I'll come back in the queue.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Basudev Banerjee from Ambit Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, sir. A few questions. Recently on media, there has been lots of news on electronic auto components, exports getting some PLI incentives. So Minda being one of the players who are into sensors and other electronic stuff. So do you have any plans under that scheme?
I'm not aware of any scheme which has been announced from electronic components perspective, Basudev, you are saying, right?
Yeah, it was coming on TV multiple times for last couple of
The government is working on. I don't think.
You're working on. It has not been finalized. You're working on. So will you be?
I think we have to still wait and watch. I think there has been a lot of discussion and on various forums. Government has been asking us also as to what can be done in terms of de-risking China strategy, and I think we have also been very open and candid in our feedback, because the large part of the import dependency is from electronic components, and there are like LCD panels or magnets or resistors. Some of them are actually you can get alternate source, and which we are getting. From that perspective, while we will de-risk, but from cost perspective, definitely it's a challenge. That's number one, because you have to be first competitive. Secondly, if you have to manufacture in India, you need large volumes, because if Minda, say for example, has to put a facility, it will be heavily capex intensive. Plus, you need a huge market to sort of service to, because the scale at which they are producing, even the Indian market will become smaller. So the components are very small, something like in paisas or rupees it comes. And to be competitive, you have to have a very large scale, and to some of the products which we have examined, it can easily cost you more than $1 billion. So definitely it's not something which is on the radar immediately for us, because we are not sort of looking for any such kind of capex to start with. But in terms of opportunities, if you see from Minda perspective, there are definitely there. But as you know that the OE cycle is normally like 2 to 3 years before you get any business. So there are, and you know that Minda actually has grown in past primarily because of localization. So if you see this sensor also is primarily localization. As of now, it was primarily being imported from China. So I think we will get there first more advantage in terms of putting our facilities well in time. In fact, we have started even before COVID or China threat was there. And also the alloy wheel, which is primarily being imported from China for two-wheelers. So there again, I think we will stand to benefit. Now, can there be additional products or small components which Minda can get into profitably? I think it's too premature for us to discuss as of now, because while there are discussions, I think it will take some time to fructify.
Where I was coming on was much more larger strategic picture, that Minda being much more domestic oriented. So if you get any good export incentives, will you start focusing on exporting in a larger way if opportunities come, or you will remain focused on domestic? So that would be the right way to ask.
So I think it has to be, Basudev, seen in a commercially, basically, if we are getting a product which can be commercially advantageous for the company, I think we will be open to look at it. But as you know that our primary focus has always been India. The reason being, whatever project we do, we always want to sort of be little conservative in a way that at least we should have one anchor customer to start with, so that when you start the business, you don't look out and scout for customers. So from that perspective, obviously, then your first thought or first strength comes from India.
Sure. Second thing, micro perspective for full year fiscal 21, with one quarter being gone and you are in the middle of the second quarter. A few things like, as you said, two-wheeler alloy wheel coming up end of September, and Harita might come in from only for Q4, and OEM demand improving. So are you in a position to give a holistic view on full year consolidated revenue as of now?
No, Basudeb, unfortunately, I wish I could, but I don't want to shoot in dark and then get questioned on that number, because we all know that things have been changing by the day. While the immediate month or two, I will be happy to answer, but if you ask me beyond 2 months, I think it's very catchy.
Sure. Third thing, sir, if I look at raw material to sales on a standalone basis and console basis, I can see standalone RM to sales QOQ not being much favorable, but at console it is down almost 200 basis points sequentially, which means X of standalone RM cost has come down. So is it anything to do with this one-off odd quarter and one should not take it on a sustainable basis, or something major improvement or mix improvement or something happen, and how should one look at? Any comment?
Yeah. So Basudeb, I think it's a very good question. So what has happened is, if you see from last Q4, we have added Delvis, right? And Delvis is primarily an engineering company where your RMC is not that significant. And the weightage of Delvis sales to the total sales in Q4 was X. And now it is like multifold of X, because we have not seen that kind of drop in volumes in engineering services as we have seen in product. So just because of, I think, that sheer weightage also, the RMC is actually being coming down.
So is that a seasonal revenue of Delvis, or that
I won't say seasonal, Basudeb. So once you go, say, for Q2, and if you see, like, this quarter sales is 400 crores odd. Next quarter, say, if I am 1,000 crore plus, the Delvis revenue is not going to go 2.5 times.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, your RMC again will increase a little bit.
Understood. And what's the annualized Delvis revenue run rate now?
Almost 250 crores on a full year basis, but the first quarter was slightly lower, around 30 crores, 20-30 crores. Yeah.
Sure. And like most of the auto component companies are cutting their SG&A cost with more focus on digital meetings and lesser traveling. So how should one look at your P&L other expenses line item with revenue recovering back? So how much you expect this cost cuts to be structural in nature, and how one should look at it?
Look, so if I start from few examples which you took, say for example traveling. Now traveling, definitely I don't think, even if volumes go up, is going to be normal anytime soon unless we have vaccine or something, because that restriction is always going to be there, and we are not going to expose our employees where we can minimize that exposure and do more digital meeting. So from that perspective, from immediate short term, yes, there will be some lower costs on travel, but as we move in future, once things normalize, I think those old things might come back. May not be at that level, but definitely there will be some expenses. For, say, for example, some rental costs, we have actually been able to negotiate almost on an average, if I remember, 8% of our annual rental cost for full year basis, we have negotiated. So now that has got a compounding impact, because there was, say, for example, we had annual escalation clause 5%, 10%. For our rental property. So we have not given any 5-10%. On top of it, we have got 8. So delta perspective, if you see, it's almost like 15% reduction, which is sustainable reduction. Now, but if you ask me what is the weighted average number, it is very difficult to say, because what happens, all your consumables, all your electricity, everything is on production linked. So those things will come back. But what I think we have done is, maybe we will let you know more detail next time. We are actually working on a large scale solar power initiative to see that almost 50% of power we get through solar and reduce our cost of electricity. So maybe we'll share more details once we close, maybe in the next call.
And like quarterly staff cost, which is roughly 210 to 15 crore in general, which is 166 crore this time. How much of this reduction is because of pay cuts and job cuts? How should one look at it with the revenue recovering broadly?
Look, if you ask me, Vasudeb, look, we have also, I think, also mentioned that this salary reductions have been temporary.
Sure.
Normalize, and we are expecting this normalization now. So these salaries should get ideally reinstated this month or next at best. So that basis, I don't think we'll have any sustainable reduction in people cost.
So you mean bulk of the salary staff cost reduction is due to pay cuts and not because of
So there are two factors, Basudev. One is pay cuts and another is whatever variable manpower you have. So if you are able to reach numbers which is 100% of pre-COVID levels, you will need that variable manpower back.
Sure.
So it is only minuscule, I think, plus minus 5-10% that can be at play, not very significant.
Sure. And last small question, sir. This quarter, I remember still papers raised, and in Q1, everybody's debt in general moved up. I can see your interest outgo on P&L being lower QOQ. So how to look at that?
So I think, Basudev, that again you have to give credit to the management team that have been able to manage the cash flow so well. So we have been able to control our working capital. We have been able to control our, or maybe I think a blessing is that in India, fortunately, all the OEMs are well placed in terms of their financial strength. So we have been able to get all our dues on time. So that has helped ease out a lot of pressure on finances, and also we have done different means of financing. We have raised CPs at something like around 5.5%. So that also brings down cost a little bit. So we have been looking at each and every aspect to bring down this financing cost.
Okay, great, sir. Best of luck. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 at this time. The next question is from the line of Jeetu Punjabi from EM Capital Advisors. Please go ahead.
Hi. I have a couple of questions. The first one is just trying to map what the source of demand is in your view. Is it the inventory rebuild which could peak around Diwali, or do you think there is genuine pass-through demand and this cycle sustains over the next 12-18 months?
So normally the festival demand inventory gets built 60 days around roughly or so before the festive season, because it takes roughly around 15 to 30 days based on which geography you are. So if I see 60 days from that perspective, it starts only from middle of September. So Diwali is in, I think, middle of November, I think 13th or 14th. So from that perspective, I don't think as of now whatever demand we are seeing has got any festive link. So definitely it gives a comfort that this is mostly a consumer-driven demand. It is not a demand which is going and filling up the inventory. Actually, the data point which we have been getting, the inventories actually are lower than what they were compared to pre-COVID levels. So which means that the market is able to absorb more than the production. So which is a good sign. I think the normal question would come is how much of this is a pent-up demand and whether this is sustainable. I think that's the question you are trying to ask. So if you, whatever we know normally a pent-up demand, because whatever closure was there and this demand getting accumulated coming to market, it's something which is in play for maybe a month, month and a half or two at best. So if any sign of sustained demand which you see more than 45 to 60 days, that pent-up thing gets faded away. So we believe that the pent-up demand, I think we believe that has sort of is behind us, because I think economy has started more than 60 days back in terms of the market demands. May, June, July, August, we are actually in the 4th month. So from that perspective, we do expect that large part of this demand should be there in the market, sustainable. But I think again here, I think as I said a little while back also, it's very difficult to say what will happen 2 months down the line. But we all know that as of today, things are looking much better than what they were a month or two back.
Right. And tell me something, in your path through normalization, I heard you make a comment that you could next month possibly be at 100% of pre-COVID levels. In this path to normalization, what is the biggest challenge? Is it supply chain? Is it people? Is it logistics? I mean, what are the challenges in normalizing this supply chain?
I think first thing is we need to give full marks to the industry in terms of its efficient supply chain management, because despite being COVID and the number of parts you see in a vehicle, even if I see my switch business has got 4,000 parts, more than 4,000 parts. Now, for a plant to be sustainable, you have to have smallest of the small part, be it a small spring, be it a small screw. You have to have everything in inventory. If you don't have one, the line stops, and it's not your line, it's the OE line stops. So from that perspective, I think the entire automotive supply chain is very, very strong in India, and the way it has sort of come up post the lockdown, I think it's full marks to the entire industry. So from that perspective, I think everybody is very geared up. Now, when we say pre-COVID, while we are all talking pre-COVID, mind it, pre-COVID was also not normal, because in last 12 months prior to March, we have seen the demand sort of dropping continuously. So even if we are at pre-COVID, we will be maybe around 70 or 80% of our peak. So there is still a lot of potential available or possible in terms of reaching the peak which we have seen in FY18. So I think
you
from that,
very optimistic that
we don't see that challenges from supply side. Initially, there were challenges from migrant labor perspective, but I think there again, people have done really well, and migrants have actually started coming back. So that thing also has, I think, started easing up.
Okay. And my last question, this new aluminum wheel capacity that is coming up, is that going to create overcapacity in the industry in your view? And the linked question is, there's also been pretty public talk of all the two-wheeler aluminum wheels that come out of China, which are integral to the Indian supply chain, which might be delayed or whatever. How much of that migrating that, what I'd say is localizing that demand and supplying from here is going to be in that aluminum wheel capacity assumption?
So, Mr. Jitu, I think first let us look at the macro picture. The two-wheeler alloy wheel consumption in India versus the import, it is 65%. And what capacity we are putting is just 10%. So even if once our plant is fully commissioned, sometime same time next year, we still be importing more than half of country's total demand, because there is no other new capacity coming up in the country, what we know today. So from that perspective, I really don't understand what can be the potential threat.
So this includes Enkai's new capacity as well, when you're putting this number?
Yeah, so 2/3 of the entire requirement is currently imported, and we are just, for example, out of 23 million wheels, almost 20 million or 18 to 20 million is imported. So we are just manufacturing 4 million to 5 million as of now.
No, 3.5 million.
So 3.5, 4 million now. And even with our capacity of 4 million that we had, we are still not, we will still be 8 out of 24. And I'm sure some additional capacities will come, but a lot of it is simply import substitution.
And is this at an economic price? Like, are you doing price parity with imports and still making money after that on the aluminum wheel?
We have not yet communicated anything on pricing, so we will communicate once it starts.
So, but if you assume market parity pricing, like what is the local price for an equivalent product?
It is about that. It's not material difference from there.
Okay, so it's a positive economics after calculating everything. That's my question.
Yeah.
Okay. So good luck, all the best. Yeah. Take care.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 at this time. The next question is from the line of Mukesh Saraf from Spark Capital. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. First question is on the...
Mr. Mukesh, can you speak closer to the handset, please?
Yeah, is it better now?
Yes, sir.
So on the four-wheeler alloy wheels business, sir, you did mention that you've got these Korean business orders. Given that your plant is in Gujarat, do you think you'll be able to kind of keep the margins at these levels, the 23-24% margins, because the freight costs might actually be higher there on the alloy wheels business?
So Mukesh, I think this is a very good question. So let me tell you that we have made a strategic entry into LPDC and to get sort of business from the Korean OEMs whom we were not there. So to start with, definitely the margins are not as per the existing business. They are definitely going to be lower. But as you know that once you get the business, you continuously then work on how to optimize, how to improve the margins. And those efforts are continuously being going on. But as of now, what we know, margins are definitely going to be lower than the current business. But then I think what is also important to see is that the kind of capex which we are doing is leveraging on the existing plant. So we are not putting a new plant for manufacturing an LPDC wheel. We have a plant in Gujarat. So we are utilizing that plant, and we are just putting a separate line for LPDC, and also sort of utilize a lot of assets of the existing plant wherever there are common processes like painting, etc. So from that perspective, we are trying to see that we have minimum investment if the returns is lower.
Got it. So, ignoring this first quarter, lockdown impact, what would be the utilization rates at Gujarat, sir? I mean, just a ballpark number, say FY20, and where did we end at?
FY20?
Yeah, I mean, where did we end last year at in terms of utilization rates for this?
Last year we were at almost 45,000 in FY19.
Out of 60. 75%.
Okay, got that. And second question is on Harita. I mean, you had once mentioned that you had already started working on new businesses there, despite the fact that the transaction hasn't gotten. Is it better? Sorry.
Yeah, actually in between it just lost what you were trying to convey.
Okay, sorry. On Harita Seats, so you had in the past mentioned that you had already started winning some new businesses for seating systems in passenger vehicles. So any updates there on that? Any new businesses you're working on for Harita?
Oh, we are definitely working on, but I don't think we have reached the stage where we can communicate.
Okay. Right. And just my last one is on the tax rate for subsidiaries. So have we moved to the new tax regime for all the subsidiaries already, or is there some more left?
Yeah, so wherever we have got a MAT credit available, there we will continue to be there in the old regime, and where the MAT accumulated has been utilized, there we will go to the new one, because once you have MAT, your cash outgo in the old regime can be lower than 25%.
Right. So, in your assumption, like in say FY22 or something, we can move to the new one for the maybe FY22 or FY23. What do you think?
Yeah, FY22 should be possible, because I think a lot also depends on the rest of the year for FY21. If everything goes as currently is, I think we should be able to move to FY22.
Right. Okay. That's it, sir. Thank you. I'll get back in the queue.
Thanks, Mukesh.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 at this time. The next question is from the line of Rajesh Gupta, an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hello. Good evening. Just wanted to know how much of our RM comes from outside India?
In terms of imported raw materials?
Yes.
Yeah, so that will be close to Minda Kosai, which is a major importer, apart where the entire raw material is imported, which will be 50% of their almost utilization levels, sales level. At other units, the imported content will be close to 15 to 17%.
Okay. And what would be our capacity across products that we make?
That will be a very detailed question. I think we will generally we work in a batch process, and the average utilization that we have conveyed for 1920 was around 75 to 80%.
Okay. And the new product that we are entering, so I mean, will we have the same EBITDA margins in these?
Which company EBITDA margin you saying?
The new product that we are entering.
Yeah, why?
Okay, so we declare our normally our margins at a console level as well as a standalone level, and these margins we don't release quarterly. On an annual basis, we do come back with these numbers, because there can be some seasonality from Q on Q as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and one. The next question is from the line of Ashutosh Tiwari from Equirus. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sir. In our lighting segment, roughly what % of sales comes from LEDs if we have done that exercise?
I have not for this quarter.
No, not for, I'm talking about last year, not for quarter.
So for two-wheeler, this number was around 35% last year.
Okay, 35% two-wheelers. And in terms of whatever basically products that are in pipeline, will the share go up materially over the next 3-4 years? And I mean, can it go to 50% over the next 2-3 years? So that would lead to higher relations for us or higher revenues for us.
Okay. So recently also, Ashutosh, the 3 orders that we have announced post-acquisition of Delvis, you have seen they have all been on the close to 150 crore as sir has indicated will be the revenue addition per annum. And these are all LED lamps. And we are quite hopeful that the percentages will go up. While for four-wheeler, it should be around 25-27%. And it will increase here after as well. So I don't know if 40-50 will be a immediate 2-year exercise, but definitely the journey is towards that side.
So I missed this new order of 150 crores. This is for headlamps in four-wheeler?
1 headlamp and 2 tail lamps. And both are all are LED. Yeah.
Both are, sorry?
All are LED.
All are LED.
Oh, okay. So incrementally, I mean, the lighting business is something which will grow faster than industry growth because of LED penetration increasing.
Correct.
And secondly, on the alloy wheels front, so we have the first phase capacity is 300,000 wheels per month. So by end of this year, by March, basically, what kind of capacity will be commissioned, like out of this 3 lakh?
So we are expecting the commission activity to take roughly around 12 months, and it will be almost sequential. So you can see around, yeah.
So full capacity will reach by mid of next year, by let's say June, July this time.
Same.
Yeah.
Okay, so so roughly around say 180 kind of level you can reach by March. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you. As there are no further questions, I now hand the conference over to Mr. Bora for closing comments.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to thank everyone for joining on the call. I hope we have been able to respond to your queries adequately. For any further information, request you to please get in touch with us. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Minda Industries, that concludes this conference.